Good morning, good evening, and good night, everybody, and welcome back to the show where we pimp smack your popular opinion with the magic stick of logic. I am your host, the Insider. In our last two episodes, we discussed how Littlefinger bankrupted the kingdoms, then started and orchestrated almost the entirety of the War of the Five Kings. In today's episode, we'll discuss just what exactly the heck Littlefinger was thinking after he left the Vale with Sansa. So grab your popcorn and turn off your ringer, because we're walking in the spider webs today.
Shall we begin?
The most notable event at the beginning of season 5, well, not really the beginning, is that Littlefinger sells Sansa to the Boltons. Now, I know this is perhaps the most controversial move that Littlefinger made, and it's been debated wildly as to whether he should have made the move or not, whether the showrunners even had a plan for him at this point. Well, I would like to say at this point, there was still a very concrete plan. Let's go through it right now. Why did he sell Sansa to the Boltons? Well, he wanted an alliance with the North against the Lannisters. So you'll recall that at the time he sold Sansa and was talking to Roose Bolton, they were talking about how
The Eyrie is mine. The last time the Lords of the Eyrie formed an alliance with the Lords of the North, they brought down the greatest dynasty this world has ever known.
so that was supposed to be his idea with Roose Bolton. Roose Bolton was, of course, hedging his bets, but he more or less was with this alliance. And he also simultaneously created secret information that he was going to later sell to Cersei. So at this point, we're just going to have to accept that Littlefinger didn't know Ramsay, and at this point, he did not want to hurt Sansa. Whether he was going to do that in the future remains to be seen. Whether she was just going to be a bargaining chip, we don't know. But at this point, this was all that was meant to happen. And in the future, had she not escaped from Winterfell, when Littlefinger brought down the Knights of the Vale onto Winterfell, he would have appeared as a hero when he saved her. Fast forwarding to when Littlefinger jetpacked to King's Landing. At the beginning, when he first walks into King's Landing, he's approached by Lancel Lannister, who is now brother Lancel, who's given up his lands and everything to join the Faith Militant, who have been armed by Cersei. Littlefinger immediately sees the harm in this, even though for some reason Cersei didn't. And we see immediately that Littlefinger has a conflict with Lancel, and he has a conflict with Cersei. He immediately tells her that she should not be slighting the Tyrells. And you'll find out this is an exact parallel to what happened between him and Ned Stark in season 1. He tried to advise Ned not to support Stannis when he could support Stannis, support Joffrey, or support Renly, two of which probably would have kept his head on his shoulders, but he goes for the third option due to honor. And you'll notice that the result of both of these warnings is very similar. So he warns her not to slight the Tyrells. She says she's the one who's been slighted. He gives almost the same exact face that he gave to Ned when he can't believe that she's not listening to reason. So at the same time, there are two seeds that are planted. There are the seeds with the Tyrells, and there are the seeds with the Lannisters. Now, he tells Cersei where Sansa is. What's the result? Well, he's given authority to attack Winterfell, with being named Warden of the North as the payment. He also continues the Lannister alliance without any action. He's obviously being questioned by Cersei when he's first brought into her little office or whatever that she confiscated from Tywin. But by the end, obviously, he's back in her good graces by saying that he's going to attack Winterfell and kill Sansa and put the Lannister flag up in Winterfell. Now, which plan he was leaning towards at this point, we don't know, but there was a plan. Let's go over to the other side of the garden where he plants the seeds for the Tyrells. He's immediately approached, also hostilely, by the Queen of Thorns, the Lady Olenna. He bobs and weaves through her jabs and sells her the same exact thing that he sells Cersei. He sells information. He tells the Tyrells about Lança Lannister, all of the stuff that Lança Lannister would know about Cersei and what they did after Robert died, and how Robert died. Cersei is now imprisoned. Now, this could have happened or this could not have happened. His bets were hedged from either side that would have ended up winning this conflict. He now continues his alliance with the Tyrells, and the Tyrells and the Lannisters now end up being the ones that fight each other as opposed to fighting him. Same exact thing he did with the Starks and the Lannisters. He's very good at conflict deflecting, we'll find out. So he pieces out from King's Landing right before everything goes to shit, because he can obviously tell if they're destroying all the whoremongers and moneylenders and pretty much all the other sinners, then he's definitely next. So he pieces back out to the Vale, which brings us neatly along, of course, to season 6. He's able to get Robb and Arryn to decide to attack the North so that they can save Sansa. The results here are the Boltons are now removed from thought. So whether he was trying to actually push forward with that alliance or not, which I doubt because I think he still wanted Sansa as either a chip or as his own main squeeze, they're now removed from thought. He now fulfills his promise to Sansa to take the North. He now has a mended alliance with Sansa, one that isn't so marred by the Ramsay mistake. Notice that even when he first goes to see Sansa, before the battle even starts, he mentions that the Blackfish has now taken Riverrun. Now, whether the Blackfish will give up Riverrun to help her or not is really irrelevant. As long as he gives her the information, he's now getting closer and closer to her. So when the Knights of the Vale ride in, exactly as he says it's going to happen, and they're able to gain Winterfell, he plants seeds of doubt by warning Sansa that Jon may take her power in this scene.
You, my love, are the future of House Stark. Who should the North rally behind? True-born daughter of Ned and Catelyn Stark, born here at Winterfell? Or a motherless bastard born in the South?
What does this do? By the beginning of season 7, whether Littlefinger is given the cold shoulder or not by Sansa, she's listening to him. By episode 6 of season 7, she's definitely listening to him. So their bond has now been strengthened. And now she's sowed seeds of discontent that show for pretty much the rest of the show between Sansa and Jon and pretty much everybody, even beyond Littlefinger's death. So that is everything that Littlefinger had planned to do with Sansa up until this point. Now, there is one final mistake that Littlefinger unfortunately makes, and that's going to happen in the next episode. Just kidding, we're going to do it right now. So in season 7, at the very beginning, Littlefinger attempts to gain the measure of Jon. Now, he tries in the beginning to just approach him pretty friendly. Jon knows that Littlefinger's a snake by reputation, so he's not really trying to play his game, but he discovers that Jon is exactly like Ned, and he knows that he doesn't need to include Jon in any of his future plans. In fact, it's quite the opposite. At any given chance, he attempts to increase the doubt that Sansa has in Jon, or increase their distance between the two of them. He then experiences Bran's power. But since the showrunners don't know how to write, and his powers are never really explained, and no one knows the full extent of them, even us by the end of the show, I'm going to ignore this. I'll just say he clearly didn't think it was a big enough deal at face value to leave. Because obviously, if he knows that Bran is clairvoyant, his best move at this point is to take his forces and shore himself up at the Vale where nobody can stop him, and more than likely to call the Lannisters down and battle the Starks to try and form an alliance of some sort. Because obviously his tenure with the Starks would be over, because if he knew that Bran had access to the last 6 seasons and their scripts and the internet, then there is no way that he continues to stay there. So we're going to go with, he knows that Bran has weird powers, but he does not know the extent of them. Next off, he very conspicuously gets and hides the message from Sansa to Robb from the first season, which honestly shouldn't have really driven a wedge between Sansa and Arya the way that it did, but it did because Arya was a very weird character during this time. There's a lot of weird writing going on, but it all made sense in the end. A beef started between the two. That's what they wanted to show. Sansa immediately runs to Littlefinger for advice in episode 6 because Littlefinger was basically saying that if Sansa was to order Arya's execution, wouldn't Brienne protect her? That was his idea. He was sowing that doubt inside of Sansa's head, and obviously it got to her, so she sent Brienne away. Now, at this point, with all of those cards set into place, he showed up to watch the magic happen as he has every single time in Game of Thrones. Let's just go through a quick film roll of the times Littlefinger has set up a plan and then just sat back and watched it in motion. Okay, so this should have been the final time. And yet,
You stand accused of murder. You stand accused of treason. How do you answer these charges? Lord Baelish.
unfortunately, he was sunned by the Brand 9000 and the showrunners, and we find out that the only reason that any of this even makes sense is because of a deleted scene where I have no idea why they deleted this scene, but of a deleted scene where Sansa goes to Bran and asks him what happened, and Bran tells her everything. At this point, of course, it makes sense that Sansa wins, but she did not outsmart Littlefinger, which is what they tried to make it look like she did. In the end, this should have happened exactly the way it happened in every single other instance when Littlefinger set out a plan that nobody saw coming, and who knows, he might have even gotten a little bit or a lot of bit closer to gaining that Iron Throne that he wanted so badly. That is the end of my assessment that Littlefinger had a plan the entire time. In the end, he just so happened to be destroyed by bad penmanship, as many people like to say, but his plan was not destroyed by bad penmanship. If you made it through this one again, thank you. You guys are all troopers and you deserve smacks in your poopers. And I would like to thank you for watching my first ever series on this channel. Now, not every series is going to be about the Game of Thrones. I'm thinking of doing something about the Matrix, and I'm going to just continue to go forward and forward with a bunch of pop culture and movies, videos, music, and all that type of stuff. So please stay tuned for my next few videos. If you like this assessment, go ahead and drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you like to. Ting! Anyway, until my next video, this is the Insider signing out. Bye! House Baelish, bitches.